What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the next episode of Mic'd Up with Max Webster. Today we welcome on someone who hasn't been around on YouTube recently, but he's kind of a New York Giants content creator legend. So without further ado, let's welcome him on. My guy, OGR Sports. How you doing, man? I'm excited to have you on the channel.
Thanks for having me on, my man.
Absolutely. I appreciate you coming, taking the time out of your day. First off, I want to ask you, seeing as it has been a little bit, how are you enjoying your time away from YouTube?
I'm enjoying it. Basically the reason why I stopped is because, I'm sitting there, I'm watching a Giants game, and my kids are on an iPad for, 2 hours. And I'm like, what am I doing? I understand that I wasn't the biggest Giants channel, and I didn't have dreams of grandeur when streaming games. I did it because I was watching it anyways.
Right.
But I just realized that, like, the time commitment, I'm like shooing my kids out of the room. I felt like I wasn't being a good father at that point, so I just said, I gotta stop. And it was just affecting my life, and I couldn't make the commitment that I thought was necessary to continue. Is basically what it boils down to.
I completely understand that, man. I get and it's hard too, because I have content creators on here, and I've said to a lot of them, like, look, I know talking about the same thing all the time, no matter how much you love it, can get monotonous and hard to do, especially, talking about the New York Giants in the last couple of years and them not being so great. But obviously you have some passion to be able to start a YouTube channel in the first place. And so it's kind of hard to separate doing something you love doing and spending time with the people you love. You know what I mean? So it's kind of one of those things you just got to weigh it out. And if you realize that the thing you love doing is taking up a lot of time, then obviously your priorities have to be more important to you than creating the content. But go ahead.
The priorities are important. I'm not going to sit there and disagree with you. And believe me, the passion's still there. Right. Once I heard some of the garbage that I hear some of these guys come out and say, I believe me, the passion, I want to get back on it and just, because everybody's like, OGR, why'd you stop doing rebuttals? I never stopped doing rebuttals, because that's how I started. I started off as a Giants channel that rebutted other Giants channels because I disagree with their opinion. I felt like I did it in a respectful manner, but some people have taken it the wrong way.
Right.
The fact of the matter is, I enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed rebuttaling. And then what I stopped doing is just stopped mentioning the name in my video, and I just started rebutting what the whole so-called rumor was, or whatever it was, or the garbage people are spewing. Like one of the garbage things I can't stand is when people are like, I wish OBJ was here. Stop. Just stop.
So many people still miss that guy, man. And at this point, I don't think there's any wide receiver or name that we can bring in here that people aren't going to stop saying that. You know what I mean? Like, we could go out and get Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, and Jamar Chase, and we'll still have fans going, man, I miss OBJ. That just seems...
You can say that again.
But, so yeah, obviously, you've been spending time with your family. What's that been like, being able to... I mean, obviously, it's not like you only did YouTube. You spent time with your family before, but you've been able to devote more time. So what's that meant to you, to be able to spend, what is it, since the end of the season, right? It was towards the end of the season?
Yeah, correct. So basically what I've been able to do is, just be there more for my kids on the weekend, obviously the end of the season. But one of my kids is playing soccer right now. It's his first year playing soccer. So I'm working with him during the week and, doing the whole soccer thing with him. And then my other one, just being there, if I'm coming home from work, maybe I can stop, pick up the kids, or maybe I'd be rushing home to get a video, whatever it is, just general, what a father should be doing, basically.
Right. All right. So although you're not going with the channel anymore, clearly you're still a huge Giants fan. You still have the passion, you said. And let me ask you, other than just being a Giants fan, what was the one moment that you decided, you know what, you went from I can do this to I'm going to go and start a YouTube channel? What was that moment? What drove you to want to make a YouTube channel in the first place?
So I started watching more and more YouTube probably 2017 2016, 2017, 2018, started watching more YouTube.
Right.
And you know what? I'm a Giants fan. Why don't I check out what kind of content there is to digest
Right.
on YouTube? And I started listening to Fitz Vegas. And I started listening to a Capizzle. And Tanner slowly came on. Like, he wasn't there. What's his name? Ron Effect.
Ron Effect.
Started listening to Ron Effect. And I saw different stuff. And right around that time, Bad Dog and Entertainer started coming back into the fold. But I couldn't stand what Fitz Vegas was saying. And then Big Blue and Bias. Now, I like his channel now.
Yeah.
But him and Fitz Vegas annoyed the piss out of me with this Eli Manning. And I was just like, I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to rebut them. I don't care. Because they don't know what they're talking about. And you know what? Big Blue, I'm not saying I'm the one that changed Big Blue and Bias, but he has a lot better channel now than he did when he first came out. Now, it's general. You're gonna have that maturation regardless on YouTube.
Right.
You know, you start off a certain way. So, and in Fitz Vegas, I couldn't stand it. I literally couldn't stand it. I still don't stand him because it's like, at one point he was saying, "Who dat nation?" How are you gonna claim that you're a Giants fan and then root for the Saints? Like, stop it. You know, I believe in being a fan of one team. I have no problem if you're a casual fan, but when you say I'm a diehard Giants fan, you better check your ASS at the door because you better show me. And the first thing I always ask somebody, because this is a very simple question to check to see if you're a true diehard Giants fan, and I do this with Patriots fans. I go to Patriots fans and I say, name me a quarterback to appear in a Super Bowl not named Tom Brady. And if you can't do it, I don't care if you were born in the year 2000. I don't care. You should know the history of your team if you were a diehard. Because me, right. Without even blinking, I can tell you every quarterback that started a Super Bowl for the Giants. Jeff Hostetler, Phil Simms, Kerry Collins, Eli Manning. Easy. End of story. Done. And that's how you should be as a diehard. I'm sorry.
Right.
You should know the history of your team. Now, there's certain levels to this game. Like, you can talk to somebody like Bad Dog, and he'll sit there and just I mean, oh yeah, I remember that game in '86. They played the Eagles, and Lawrence Taylor on back-to-back plays had 2 sacks. Now that didn't really happen, but you know,
right?
He's that good. But yeah,
right. Okay. So I'm just gonna do a little shameless plug here, quick. At the end of the last episode. At the end of the last episode, if people weren't able to stick around for it, I did announce it, but just in case you're tuning into this one and you didn't catch the end of the last one, down in the description, I now have a link. Someone I work with, I've been working with him, and he has a website that he hooked up for me. There is now a Mic'd Up with Max Webster merch line. There's some bags. We have a canvas if you want that, t-shirts, tank tops, sweatshirts, mugs, hats. There's going to be more stuff that's coming, hopefully. But I'll go ahead and drop that in the description if anybody wants to check out the Mic'd Up with Max Webster merch. There might be some stuff changing with it here soon, so if you want to hold off, I completely understand. The image that was put on there didn't come out as expected, but we're working the kinks out in here in the next week or so. That should be taken care of. But yeah, we'll go back into OGR here. We'll get your opinion on some Giants things later on, but obviously this is to learn more about OGR. So why don't you tell us where you're from, like where you grew up, where you live now, what you do for work, those types of things.
All right, so where I come from Connecticut. Okay. I'm in a small town, probably 15 minutes away from Hartford. I still live there. The only other town I've lived in is Bristol, which is, when I first met my wife, we moved to Bristol, got our apartment, and then we moved back to Plainville. And actually, I'm in the process of buying a house. Oh, so nice. That's that. And it's actually a house that's literally across from my parents. So that's
cool.
Things just kind of worked out funny like that. And honestly, it's just a plain, unassuming town. Sorry. And it's just the highlight of this town is the fact that we have a movie theater. And it's a good movie theater. It's an excellent movie theater.
Is it open right now?
It is.
Awesome.
It is. Limited capacity, but
yeah.
They have the cushy chairs. It's not like you're sitting in, those old-fashioned
Oh yeah.
plastic pieces of crap. No, it's just good old, nice thing. And what was and what do I do for work? I'm an electrician by trade.
Okay. Now, let me ask you. You said it's kind of a small town in Connecticut. What's your favorite part about maybe living in a small town? I haven't had anybody on this podcast yet who's from Connecticut, first off, or to really any small towns. A lot of people have been in like the New York City area, DC, things like that of that type of nature. New Jersey, the bigger cities. I haven't had much of like. What are some of the things that you enjoy most about being in a smaller town? Some of the advantages, and maybe some of the things that you wish a smaller town might have to make life easier.
Make life easier in a small town is just knowing people.
Okay.
Like in the city, you go to New York, which is a hop, skip, and jump from Connecticut, and people are about their day. I gotta be here. I gotta be there. I don't got time for you. I don't even know you. You look weird. Why are you bald? And it's just about their day. Now, people in a small town have a tendency to be a little bit nicer. Have
right.
a little bit, small town. Maybe we don't have a lot of resources, and I'm not saying my town doesn't have a lot of resources, but it's the camaraderie and the fact that more often than not, if you need help, your neighbor will be there to help you, where you might not get that in a bigger city. I'm not saying it doesn't exist in a bigger city, because, hey, I can go to Hartford. I know people in Hartford. I can get help in Hartford if I was stuck in Hartford. But for the most part, that's what you're going to get from a small town.
Right, so that's probably your favorite thing about living there is just the small town community, like tight-knit type of everybody knows everybody.
And the fact that everything I need is in vicinity. Connecticut's a small state, and this is maybe just because Connecticut's a small state. You can go anywhere in Connecticut in 2.5 hours. California, if you're in Pasadena, now I don't know the geography, but I'll do a good one. If you're in San Fran, it's a long ass drive to Los Angeles. I'm just saying, like, getting from one part of the state to the other is really, really convenient. And being in a small town, going over to the next town isn't a big deal. Where if you're in a larger state, going from town to town to town to town might be a half an hour, 45 minutes.
Right.
If whatever's in my town, I can go to Southington. I can go to New Britain. I can go to Bristol. They're all 5-10 minutes away from me. I can find what I need in those towns. And it's the fact that everything's in distance. Good shopping, whatnot. Sorry if my camera shakes, guys.
No worries.
But, yeah.
So, with you saying that being your favorite thing about being in a small town, kind of makes me feel like you've had a couple instances where that's been a big benefit to you. Do you have a story of a time maybe where like you were in a pickle or and like just somebody in the community, like something that sticks out being that it's a small town that you're like, man, if I was in a big city, that person probably wouldn't have done that to help me out, or like something along those lines. You know what I mean? Do you have a story for me?
No, it's just general things. Like if I'm in a big city and I'm shoveling out from a storm, I'm not saying somebody wouldn't come over and help you, but it'd be a lot less. But I remember one time my dad, he's a framer by trade, and he broke his leg.
Okay.
And big snowstorm came, and I'm out there shoveling because my dad didn't believe in the snowblower at the time, so I'm out there shoveling. My neighbor sees me struggling. He comes over with a snowblower and blows my driveway. Blows my driveway for me. He didn't need to.
Right.
Didn't have to spend the gas, didn't have to spend the time, and it's just one of those things. I mean, believe me, there's negatives to living in a small town too.
Oh, I'm sure.
Small town police. They take everything seriously, and I got plenty of stories of those.
You want to give us one of those too?
So I was telling this one to my boss today at work. So I'm driving out of a Taco Bell.
Uh-huh.
I'm 22, 23. It's dusk. I turn my lights on. Me and my buddy, he's going to stay over. We're going to have a party later that night. And parents are out of town. And, I was house sitting. I moved out by that time.
Right.
But, so I invite my buddy over, go get some Taco Bell. But anyways, I hear, whoop. Police officer, can I help you? Yeah, I noticed you turned your lights on when you saw me. I said, I didn't even notice you were in the other lane. I just turned my lights on. It was getting kind of dark out, so I thought I'd turn my lights on. Well, have you been drinking this evening? I checked my watch. I said, officer, it's 5:30. Why would I be drinking? Well, maybe you're like one of those rambunctious kids. I said, no, I'm not. And I said, he goes, well, I have suspicion that you've been drinking. I said, do you see any empty can of booze? Do you smell booze on my breath? He goes, no, but it doesn't mean you weren't drinking. I said, true. But I said, are you going to do a field sobriety test? Because we could skip that whole field sobriety test. Let's go right to the breathalyzer. Let's get this out of the way. I got some food in the car. I want to go home.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, we're gonna do this. I said, okay, well, since you're gonna waste my time, I'm gonna waste yours. So he goes, I want you to do the alphabet from Z to A backwards. I said, officer, you can't do that. I said, you're not allowed to do that. I'll do it from A to whatever, but I'm not gonna go from Z to A. I said, for all you know, I'm dyslexic. I'm not gonna be able to do it.
Right.
He says, fine, you're right. Then he tries to have me count backwards from 61 to 44. I said, officer, again, you can't do that. So there's certain field sobriety tests they are allowed to give you.
Right.
And he didn't like that. And we went back and forth. Finally, he knows he's not going anywhere with me. Again, being in a small town, you know people. Well, little did he know, my uncle Leo is a private investigator. And he just happens to be his best friend happens to be the chief of police. That's the great thing about living in a small town.
Right.
Tight-knit community. I said, dude, either you stop or you'll be working traffic duty the next month and a half. I go, because guess what? My uncle was your boss. And now it's gone far beyond just a normal stop. Right. You know I have food. You want to waste my time. Maybe it's the end of your shift. Whatever your excuse is, I say, quit it or you'll be working traffic duty. We'll see about that. I said, give me your badge number. I wrote down his badge number. Now, I never told my Uncle Leo, but it's just like, it was that thing. Because to be totally honest with you, I have a cousin, and there was a cop, and he was pulling him over religiously every day. And my cousin was just going to the gym. And now, that cop actually ended up being fired because we found out the reason why, and I'm not going to go into whole things because, a lot of people circling around politics. But,
right.
Again, it's just... that cop did get in trouble because he was literally pulling my cousin over for no good reason every day.
Was just it because the same he just didn't cop like that him. Stopped you?
No, it wasn't the same guy.
Okay.
No.
So.
Oh, and then I have one more story.
Yeah, go ahead.
When I was 16 years old, I wasn't growing. I've had to take human growth hormone to grow in my life.
Oh wow.
And the same stuff that Barry Bonds used. But there's actual medical purposes for that. My pituitary
you weren't doing it to hit big home runs all throughout high school.
my body was like, yo, I'm sorry. Yeah, throughout high school, I was until my senior year, I didn't grow. I was 5'2", 5'1", 90 pounds. But anyways, I got my license. I needed a driving pillow to see, and I looked like I was 11 driving a car. So cop pulls me over. I give him proof of my license, whatnot. And at this time, you're allowed to drive by yourself at 16. There's no rule like there is now. And later in that day, he pulls me over again, and he goes, I have suspicion that... I said, listen, dude, you're effing with me now. Because you already pulled me over earlier in the day. You can't forget this face. I look like I'm 10 driving. You can't forget this face. But yeah, that was a problem. And we had to have a talk with that officer. Because he was just effing with me for no reason.
Well, you went back to your high school days saying you had to take human growth hormone. I was rather small myself. My freshman year of high school, I was actually 4'9.5".
So you were even shorter than me.
Yeah, my freshman year. I came in my sophomore year, I was like 5'1". Then my junior year, I grew at like 5'5", and right now I'm probably about 5'7" I'm not a very tall guy. Like 5'7". Right now I'm like $150.
Well, 5'8's average, so yeah, you're 1 inch below average.
Yeah, so I'm, my dad though, he's like 6'2", like 250. So I mean, here I stand at 5'7", 150. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but yeah, going back to high school, did you ever play any sports that, like as a kid, young one, like Little Leagues or Pop Warner, going up through middle school, high school, any levels? What did you play, if so?
So just harking back on YouTube for 2 seconds. I got into it with another YouTuber.
Okay.
I'm not going to mention any names, but the negative thing is
Is this
He's like,
person still on YouTube?
oh yes.
Okay.
And he goes, the one thing he said about me is, I can tell you right now, there's no way this kid played football. And he's right. I never played football in high school because I was just too damn small. That was problem with me growing up. I was just too damn small. My body didn't want to produce. The sport that I guess you could say I did well in, and well is a
relative term.
I'd say okay, maybe below average, is baseball. Baseball was my sport growing up. I dabbled in soccer for a little bit, but in high school I was on the golf team my freshman and sophomore.
Do you still golf?
No, I dropped that like a hot potato.
Well, let me ask you.
I did get into disc golf for a while though. If you don't know what that is,
I do know what that is. I like ultimate frisbee a lot, and disc golf is kind of similar, not so much, but it's it's got some similarities. You throw a frisbee around,
Sorry if I'm checking my phone. It's not you.
No worries.
My boss. I'm just trying to find out where I'm going tomorrow for work. That's all.
Yeah, no worries. I completely understand that. Like I said, before I joined the military, I was an electrician for a non-union contractor for, like 2 years, 2.5, something like that. So yeah, I completely understand. Like, especially if you're wrapping up a job right now that maybe doesn't require as many people, you'll knock down the crew and you'll end up going somewhere completely different, and you might not find out till the morning. But I played baseball when I was younger too. That was probably my best sport. I was a catcher. So what did you play as far as baseball goes? What position?
Baseball, I either played second base or right field.
What was your favorite and why?
Second base.
Yeah,
absolutely. No, second base, you just get in the game. To me, I've always respected second baseman growing up. Like, one of my favorite baseball players, and nobody knows he's obscure now, but he was a decent second baseman for the Red Sox, was Jeff Fry. Obviously, I liked Petey for a while, Dustin Pedroia, and obviously that guy should have retired 5 years ago. But I've always liked second base. I've always loved second base. Now, my mind has changed now because everybody's with that uppercut swing now, so it's all about outfielders with power. But yeah, I'm all about. I was second base is my favorite position. I didn't get to play it a lot, but I remember one time my coach, I made a real good play out in the outfield, and it's coming down to the nitty gritty at the end of the season, and I think I drove in a couple runs that game. I was just having a good game, and he approaches me. He goes, "Hey Jeff, I want to put you in a different position. Any position you want to play." I immediately said pitcher, because who doesn't want to pitch?
Right.
But he said, that's already been called. So I said, what about second base? And I did. So the other team saw me get in at second base, and they're like, well, this kid's not going to be responsible and cover the bag. So I actually knew the kid on first base. His name was Shane Leahy. He couldn't run worth a lick, but they still sent him to steal, and I tagged him out. So that's like my highlight at second base.
Nice. Yeah, I was a catcher. I played Little League. I played rec leagues growing up, but never like in high school or anything like that. When I was in Little League, though, actually, you have all your local Little League teams. It's probably like 10 or whatever that are in the same league that all play throughout the season, and you get to the end of the season and you break down into 2 different all-star teams. Well, I ended up making the all-star team as a catcher. Well, needless to say, my team was not nearly as good as many of the other teams that were playing in our divisions there. And we get to the All-Star game, and I'm the starting catcher. Well, to start the game off, we had our best pitcher coming. This kid was probably 12 years old. I still remember his name. It was Rosenbaum. And at like, God, it might have been younger. It might have been like 10, 11. He was throwing like 70-mile-an-hour balls at that age. So I went from a team where a pitcher's throwing like 30, 35, and this kid steps on the mound in the All-Star game, and he's throwing 70 miles an hour. Well, in the 6th inning, that caught up to me. He threw a fastball, and when balls are coming a little bit faster, you have to catch them a little bit differently. You have to make sure that it's in the pocket. Well, one came, and it hit my thumb right here, and it bent it backwards. And so it sprained this area right here.
Yeah.
And I ended up finishing out that inning, and in the dugout I said to the coach, I was like, look, I don't know if I can go back out there and play catcher. Like, my thumb is hurting me. I don't want to like not be able to close my glove because of the motion from the thumb. And he was like, all right, well, grab this glove and we'll put you out of center field. And I was like, all right, well, I guess hopefully there's not a ball that comes pop my way, because I still got to be able to close the glove in the pocket. But yeah, I don't remember if we ended up winning that game, but it was crazy difference going from like a pitcher who's at like 30, 35 miles an hour when you're talking 11 years old in Little League to a kid who's throwing 70, like double the speed of what you're used to is hard to adjust to.
So I married into my wife's family, and a quick baseball story, and it's actually a sad one. So I'm watching her nephew baseball, and he was pretty good. His team was trying to qualify for what's that
Little League World Series. Yeah.
And they're trying to play through Connecticut. They're getting close to the finals, to then go on to New England and see who New England sends to the Little League World Series over in Pennsylvania. Or is it no? Is it Pennsylvania?
It's in Pennsylvania. Yeah. It's in Williamsport.
Yep. So he goes up against he's in Windsor. He's going up against Norwich. And all the rage at that time was composite bats. And mind you, this kid's probably one of the one or two best kids on his team. I know like every person says that, but he really was. And he's going up against Norwich. And on that day, they were in a different class. Just on that day. And to this day, I blame the coach for what happened. So when you hit it off a composite bat, and these kids, like what you saw in All-Star, are throwing 60, 70 miles an hour, it doubles the speed, or even almost triple the speed coming off that bat.
Oh, yeah.
And Norwich was hitting ringing doubles all day, homers. Like, they were getting crushed in the third. It was like 13 to 6. It was not even close. So, for whatever reason, I believe it was first and second, and he had the kid's name Zachary in on third. And I was like, brah, you can't be doing this. Well, kid hits a ringing double off the bat, screamer right down the line. Kid tries to go get his glove up, hits him right in the eye. He lost sight in that eye for the rest of his life.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of similar to something that happened in my game. I mean, it didn't have the adverse effects like that, but the coach's son was the pitcher. That's how it always goes in Little League. The coach's son goes, I want to do this, and the dad goes, okay, well, make sure you're at that position. But, he threw a pitch, and the batter hit it, and right between home plate and the pitcher's mound, it bounced off the ground and came up and smacked him right on the outside bone of the eye here. And I heard that crack. Yeah, I heard that crack from home plate at the time, and I was like, "Ooh!" You just saw him drop, and the whole stadium just got quiet. Yeah, it's always scary, and that sucks that happened to that kid. But I do want to get your thoughts. You haven't been on YouTube in a while. I'm sure people who used to watch you are anxious and curious to know your opinion on some of the things that have happened this offseason with the New York Giants, some of the players you're looking forward to possibly getting in the draft, and your expectations for the team this year. So if you want to kind of just give me a quick synopsis of some of the moves you liked, disliked, some players in the draft that you like, dislike, who you wanted 11, and then your expectations for the team moving forward this year.
So we can go for another 2 hours, right? So no, all joking aside, John Mayer made a stupid move. John Mayer made a stupid. I fully blame everything the Giants may or may not go through on John Mayer and Steve Tisch. They want to bring winning football, and a lot of Giants fans, I get it, will sit there and say, we should have this championship mentality. And I also say, well, you also have to be in that position to do so.
Right.
And when Tom Coughlin got fired, it left a sour taste in my mouth. To this day, what we're going through all goes back to Tom Coughlin, always goes back to John Mayer and his decision-making. Anything we're going through right now, you can fully blame on John Mayer. Who hired Dave Gettleman? Who hired Joe Judge? Who hired Pat Shurmur? Any of these guys, it's John Mayer. What's the one thing you can't change? Ownership. What do Giants fans always overlook? Ownership. And I like the moves. They're exciting. Don't get me wrong. If you're a Giants fan, be excited. Why wouldn't you when you have the likes of Kenny Golladay, Adoree Jackson, and all the other things? But let's face it, this team comes down to the players we've acquired and Daniel Jones. And the Giants are desperately trying to go back to the playoffs. And we were building something here. And I'm not saying don't go out there and spend money. But we went out there and screwed our cap in future years. And I know you had a press conference today and said, no, we didn't. You did. But they're all short-term contracts, so we can get out of it in a couple years.
Yeah, I think next year is really going to be the tight year. Beyond that, I really don't think we're that bad off because the cap is going to continually go up. And, I mean, most of our contracts could be gone the year after next. You know what I mean?
No, and you're right, and you make a valid point. The problem is you've put all the pressure this year to what I believe no reason. Because my goals for this year was build this team more and produce a winning record. Let's get this in stages. Let's produce a winning record and then go for the gusto. Because had we not made the moves this year, we wouldn't have been dipping into next year's cap. Because before we made all these cap moves, it was like something stupid, like $80 million in free space. Yeah. Now we're down like -2. And I don't get me wrong, I'm excited, but I also have a real expectation. I know if Daniel Jones does not become the quarterback we think he's capable, and I'm not telling you Daniel
Jones. That's my answer for. That's my answer for why we did that this year, though. I think one more than just a winning record, right? John Mara probably wants the winning record because he hears the fans screaming for it. But I think Dave Gettleman, he knows his job rests on Daniel Jones, and so he had to go out to get the pieces to help Daniel Jones succeed. Because let's be real, if Daniel Jones doesn't put up this year, there's a good chance the organization decides he's not the guy moving forward and Gettleman's gone next year.
And rightfully so. But where does that leave you? You have Joe Judge as a head coach, and that's it. That's it. And what are you going to do? You're going to go out to another GM. Hey, we've got no quarterback.
Kyle O'Brien.
And we've got no quarterback. And we've got this head coach that we really love that you're going to have to work with. You don't really get much of a say in the organization. Why don't you come on in? Is that an attractive job?
No, it's my not. My thought is Kyle O'Brien, who we brought over from Detroit this year, was part of the scouting team over there. Maybe an assistant GM, if I'm not mistaken. I think that if Gettleman is gone, that he's going to be the replacement. I think the replacement for Gettleman and Garrett are in the building already. Because I think either way, Garrett's gone after this year too. If the offense does really well, I think he'll get a head coaching job offer somewhere. If the offense does really bad, I think he's just going to get fired like Dave Gettleman. And I think Garrett's gone and Gettleman could be gone, but I think both of their replacements are already in the building.
And that's great. The Giants have a future sight because I'm telling you right now, the Giants are not going to be able to go out there and hire anybody. They better hire in-house. That's their only choice. Right. And my thing, another problem that's been with the organization, and people don't realize how long he's been here, is Kevin Abrams.
Yeah.
And the other thing is John Mara's brother. I can't stand him. He's a part of the organization, and he does nothing. If you see his job title, he does nothing. Why is he part of the organization? Why does he have a say? There's some problems in the organization, and it comes from leadership, and you're only as good as your leadership. And I don't trust John Mara as far as I can throw him, which is not very far. So I don't trust him at all. I don't like Steve Tisch. I don't like the impatience with the organization. When you get impatient, make rash decisions, and you stay off schedule, you're doomed to fail. And what have we been doing? Hire a GM, bring in a coach. Don't hire and fire the coach and GM at the same time. What you do is you bring in another coach. It's a mistake. You've got to have continuity. The Giants have, since Jerry Reese and Tom Coughlin have left the building, or even when Tom Coughlin left the building, the Giants have had zero continuity at GM and coach, and that's a big, big problem in the NFL. You cannot do that. If you look at all these bad organizations, you sit there and you look at the Jets, you look at the Cleveland Browns, they've all made these stupid decisions. Hiring and firing, no continuity, no trying to build together, not trying to build anything in your organization, build a program. I'm really hoping Joe Judge can coach this team to a winning record. Daniel Jones can take a little bit of a step forward. I'm not expecting miracles. I'm expecting an average QB, and people are like, that's not good enough. We had him. We drafted him top 6 overall. He's got to be an all-star. Not true. Alex Smith.
Well, I use this
number 1 overall, and it's had a good career in the NFL.
Right.
Not a great career, a good career. A guy that is a stalwart, a guy that can bring you there. And that's what I believe you need in a quarterback in the NFL. Yeah, go ahead.
I used this comparison last night because I kind of got in a little bit debate with someone about the draft, basically saying Rashawn Slater at 11 would be a reach because he thinks that there's going to be better players that are going to have day one impact on the board at that point. I said my question was how is grabbing Rashawn Slater at 11 a reach if he's considered to be a top 10 player? It is possible that a good player that should have been gone before you and your need also line up. You don't have to reach just because you're filling a need. But sorry, I kind of lost my train of thought.
You said drafting Rashawn Slater, is not necessarily a reach, and that the fact that
right. What were you saying before that though?
What did I was just talking about.
I lost
John
my train of thought. We were talking. Gosh.
I was talking about John Mayer and Steve Tisch, and then you started going into the draft stuff.
Yeah, well, you're talking Daniel Jones and
Daniel Jones. Yep.
Yeah.
Alex Smith. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that was it. Alex Smith. Good thought. Right. So I used that comparison a little bit yesterday. Right after all that happened. I basically said, look, Trevor Lawrence right now is viewed as the clear and away best quarterback in this draft class. But it's possible, I'm not saying I believe this, but it's possible we see Mac Jones go 3rd overall. Yeah, are you going to have the same expectations for Trevor Lawrence as you're going to have for Mac Jones just because he went 1st round, top 5, you know what I mean? Like Daniel Jones can't be held to a standard because he was taken in a top whatever. You can't compare a player just because of where he was picked. I get he has to perform, but where he was picked has nothing to do with him. That was on the organization.
And that's the problem with the mainstream. That's what's the problem with the mainstream media. For years, people have bought into what I like to call the quarterback Kool-Aid. I'm not telling you the quarterback isn't the most important on the field. But you know what? I watch Aaron Rodgers. I watch Russell Wilson. Everybody tell me it's all about championships. These guys have 1 Super Bowl each, and people drool over what they can do. They put their teams on their back. If you look at the squad around them, they don't belong where they're going, yet these guys put their team on their back consistently.
Right.
You can have a top 5 quarterback. If you're not going to support it, it doesn't matter. It's about the team and the organization as a whole. There's a reason why Kansas City's doing as well as they're doing.
Right.
It's because they have a good coach, a good quarterback, and they built around Patrick Mahomes. Now, obviously, once you pay him, it's a little bit tougher, but we're still going to go into the next season, despite their performance in the Super Bowl, expecting Kansas City to be there next year.
Yeah. So with all this said, give me like a couple of players that you like in this draft and who you would want to see the Giants take at 11 after the offseason we've had. Obviously, being somewhat realistic, like I don't think Kyle Pitts is going to be there. Jamar Chase probably isn't going to be there. Penei Sewell is probably going to be gone. So being somewhat realistic in your pick, who are you hoping that the Giants select at 11 this year?
Who am I hoping? I don't care. Just draft somebody good. I kind of
don't have a preference of a position.
I don't have a preference, but there's guys I
any
like.
Of it.
I'm a big Penn State guy. Everybody knows I love Pat Freiermuth. Everybody knows I love Micah Parsons. Before I left, those are the guys I was touting. Everybody knows I love Rashad Bateman. I am a Big Ten guy, and I'm a Penn State fan, so of course I'm going to have some biases there. Obviously, I love Rashawn Slater. I love a lot of these guys. Rashawn Slater, sorry. To me, it's just draft somebody good and draft somebody that's going to have an impact on the field day one. That's what really the Giants really need. And if it's Micah Parsons, great. If it's if they decide that receiver is great. I just need the Giants to be able to fix the holes on that offensive line and not allow it to leak like a sieve because you can't be one of the most hit quarterbacks in the NFL and expect them to perform. unless they are Russell
Is there
Wilson.
any names that could be said on draft day in the first round that would make you mad or upset as a New York Giants fan? Is there any names out there? Again, being somewhat realistic, clearly we're not going to take like I don't know, a 6th round quarterback prospect in the first round, you know. So
I won't be upset with these guys, but I won't be as hyped up. Like, I know a lot of people love the corner class, and I'm not telling you corner class isn't good. And people will make the argument, well, you can never have enough corners, and that's very true. I just don't see us needing one right now.
Right.
So if any of the top corners are taken at 11, I'm not going to be a big fan of. I have a lot of questions about Gregory Rousseau, but you know
that's my one right there. Anybody besides Rousseau, and I'm happy.
Who's the kid out of Georgia? I can't pronounce his name.
Wait, what position?
The pass rusher out of Georgia.
Osai? Yeah. Or is it Ojulari?
Is it Ojulari?
It's either Azeez Ojulari or Joseph Osai.
Azeez Ojulari, yes.
Okay, yeah.
Because it seems like he's been rocketing up places. I could be wrong. I just seen his name.
Yeah, I hear the Giants are pretty high on him too.
So that's another guy. Like, this is not a great pass rushing class. We need pass rusher, but I don't want us reaching for one. You know, if we go out there and we manufacture like we have, and that brings me to another thing. That's another guy that needs to perform, and that's Leonard Williams.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. After that payday, he better not go back to old form, Leonard. We got to see that last season consistently. I'm not saying he's got to have the exact same stats. If he doesn't have 11.5 sacks, I'm not calling it a bust, but you know, I got to see that same level of play. I have to see the impact player consistently on that side of the ball from Leonard Williams. But
the one thing about the Giants that I do want to say, go ahead. And a lot of Giants fans still overlook this because they're so hyped up about all the offseason moves. The Giants have definitely improved, but for a team that you want to have a winning record, to me, they still have a lot of question marks that need to be answered. Interior offensive line, pass rusher, you know, what the receiving core is going to look like behind what's his face? I mean, it looks good now. Tight end, even though we got Kyle Rudolph, even though we got Evan Ingram, it's just like, are these guys going to live up to their potential?
Yeah.
I've given up on Evan Ingram. I am off the Evan Ingram bandwagon. That's the fact that I was never really on, but it's another guy I want gone. That's why, you know, my dream scenario would be Micah Parsons in the first round, and Pat Freiermuth in the second. That'd be my dream.
You want to add another tight end, huh?
Yeah, and I want Evan Ingram gone, and then maybe you just flip him for something, and then maybe you go and get a guard prospect in the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round, whatever. And I know people are not going to be in love with that, but it is what it is.
Yeah, today there was some rumors that came out. I don't know if you saw on Twitter that the Giants are looking to possibly trade back from the 11. Yeah. Now this could be a complete smokescreen. I'm not sure I believe it because, I mean, it was just last year that we kind of heard the same thing. They were considering trading out of the number 4 pick.
You should always consider trading back. Right, especially the Giants. You should always consider trading back. If it's there and a team's willing to give you a couple picks, the Giants, the more, you know, bites of the apple you can take in the draft, you know, I understand not everybody loves Dave Gettleman's drafts, but obviously I would argue the last couple of years have been better than what people like highlight, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, everybody was in love with last year's draft. If we can duplicate something similar to that, I'm not opposed to it. Right. Trading back and still getting value out of it.
That's actually what I want for this draft more than anything. I've kind of been an advocate of the offensive line. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to be mad if we get a Rashawn Slater or Penei Sewell if he happens to fall, or even Elijah Vera Tucker at 11. But the main reason I want to trade back, and this isn't because I don't have faith. I think Daniel Jones is going to have a really good year. But if you look at like what the Eagles did this offseason and things like that, they're collecting picks. And I think we should be doing the same, because if we put this team together and then we go out on that field next year and Daniel Jones doesn't perform and we finish with even a 500 record, we're not going to be anywhere to take a quarterback. So I think trading back for future possibilities is probably our best option here.
So so you're basically want to hedge your bets,
right?
And I get the fan perspective of that. And the reality is, if Daniel Jones doesn't work out, the Giants are going to go out and get a journeyman quarterback, and they're going to repeat the Giants of the early 2000s. They're going to try and make a run with like a Kerry Collins-esque type quarterback.
Right.
And it's hopefully it works out. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I keep telling people, if Daniel Jones doesn't work out this year, Daniel Jones is not the guy. You then are going to either turn to a journeyman quarterback, or you're going to take another chance, or you're going to do one of the both. You're going to bring in a journeyman and a young quarterback and have them compete. And by the time you're ready to kind of switch things around, guess what? Your team's aged, and you're going to rebuild again.
Now, don't get me wrong. This isn't
going for years of mediocrity here, or the Giants will reach the potential we think they can. It's like, as a fan, do you want to rebuild? That's my attitude. Do you want to rebuild? How soon do you want to rebuild? But people are like, well, you just started a rebuild. Yeah, and we didn't do a very good job at it. Like, and this goes back to my whole John Mara thing. I blame it on John Mara. He hired Dave Gettleman because he was looking for a GM that supported his agenda, and he wanted to win with Eli Manning, and Eli Manning was past his prime. That's all on John Mara. You can't blame that on Dave Gettleman. People always say, well, you go back, well, look at what Dave Gettleman did. Yeah, because that's what the owner wanted. And I don't know about you, but when my boss tells me to do something at work, I do it. Yeah. And that's why he hired Dave Gettleman, because Dave Gettleman was willing to come in here and try and flip this team around real quick and make a winner, and it failed miserably, and they had to rebuild.
Yeah, now don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. This isn't me saying I don't believe that Daniel Jones can. It's not me giving up on him as a player. I just like you a little bit earlier, thinking about future cap space. I want to think about the future at the quarterback position, and if he happens to fail, I want to have that contingency plan. But before, I guess we'll move back into you a little bit. If you just have one story, maybe you can give me something from your childhood, adolescent years, or even recent time, just something that's affected you in a big way, right? It could be like a really funny story, could be something that's like molded you into the person you've become, just something that's happened to you that's affected who you've become today, and just an important moment in your life.
An important moment in my life.
Yeah, anytime someone hears the story, they're going to think OGR.
An electrical license. When I first broke into the trade, I met this guy, and I'm actually good friends with him to this day. I met this guy, Frank Fontana, and the dude had a mouth on him. Zero patience. And I remember, first day, when you're in construction, there is no filter.
Yeah.
And guys will say the stupidest shit to you. And I remember he goes, we had a frustrating day at work, and he goes, I hope you're not as stupid as your mother or something like that. And I wanted to haul off and punch this dude. And we got in a verbal fight. We went back and forth. And when I left the company, he told me, you're never going to get your license. You don't have what it takes. And from that day forward, I'm not telling you I was more devoted, but I wanted to become a better apprentice. And my apprenticeship was not easy. Like, your typical apprenticeship is 4 years. Well, the first company, the company I worked with, Frank Fontana, never registered me. I went to another guy, and he tried to pull the same thing on me. He had me fill out all the apprenticeship paperwork, and he needs to send it in. The state approves it. I get my apprenticeship card, and now I'm an apprentice. Well, he didn't do it. My paperwork sat on his desk for 3 months, and when I confronted him about it, he goes, "Well, I had a quick period for you." I said, "That's bullshit. You don't have somebody fill out the paperwork and then have it sit on your desk for 3 months. Either one, you forgot about it, or you're trying to pull the wool over my eyes. You're wasting my time. I'm gone." And then I ended up going to a bigger company called Wayne J. Griffin Electric. It's probably the biggest electrical contractor in New England. Worked for them. 08, 10 hit, laid me off. And I kind of bounced around until I found this home called T&T Electric. And I ended up working my rest of the apprenticeship. But it took me 7 years to get my apprenticeship card. Not because of my fault. I mean, I worked the first two and a half years as an unregistered apprentice. So none of my hours account, and I can never get any of those hours back. So if you are an apprentice out there, make sure you do not step foot on a job site until you have your apprenticeship card as the electrical field. So I'll give somebody that.
Right.
And when I finally got my license, it was a breeze for me, um, because I was just motivated. And once I got it, now you just feel a sense of accomplishment and whatnot. And it's just, one of those things that you just work for in life, and it just teaches you never give up,
Right.
even though circumstances don't seem like they're going in your way. Just keep striving forward, keep pushing forward, keep showing up to work, keep doing your job. We don't have enough of that. Like, a lot of people are just wanting to give up or looking for a handout. Just keep working hard. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there's a punchline in a movie that I um, kind of run by, and it's kind of funny because it's from one of the Rocky movies, and it's just like, it's not about how hard you can hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and get back up again. And that quote itself is true in every aspect of life.
Yeah.
It really is. Because he says life will beat you to your knees if you let it. And it's true. Life will beat you to your knees if you let it.
Yeah.
You have to keep getting up, keep striving forward, and doing the best you can do as a human being. And especially in this day and age where politics are polarizing, everything's polarizing, the outrage mob is out to get you. You just got to keep going and just be the best person you can be.
Yeah.
And that's really what it is.
All right, well, I think we're going to do one more thing, and then we'll wrap it up here. I have this segment at the end of my podcast episodes that I always do. It's just a rapid-fire question session, right? It's just simple one-answer questions. I'm going to fire them off as I read it. It's just a quick answer, and then I'll move to the next one. When we finish going through all of them, if you want to talk more about an answer that you gave, like, for instance, you want to expand on why your answer was this for that, or maybe you have another one that was real close or whatever, we can go back and do that at the end. But the beginning part, it's just question, answer, and we just kind of flow right through them. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll start with the first one. What's your favorite board or card game?
Border card game, Magic the Gathering.
All right, what about your favorite cake?
Favorite cake? It's cheesecake.
Cheesecake. Favorite subject in school?
Favorite subject, math.
Math. What's your favorite movie?
Favorite movie, Jaws.
Favorite beverage. So if you drink alcohol, you can give me an alcoholic. If you don't, non-alcoholic, or you can give me both if you choose.
Dr. Pepper.
Dr. Pepper. All right. If you could load up your family in your vehicle or an airplane tomorrow and go anywhere in this world, COVID aside, where do you want to go?
Bring my family to Disney World because my wife is a kid at heart, and I know she has a blast.
What about, besides your wallet and your phone, what's a must-have item on your person at all times?
You're looking at him.
That's a fair point. How about your favorite musical artist?
My favorite musical artist. I'm a rock head. I grew up with Metallica, but I fell in love with Slipknot when I went to go see them live. Probably the best live band I've ever seen. Slipknot's probably my favorite.
Okay. What's your biggest fear?
Biggest fear, getting stabbed in the gut.
What do you have a hidden talent? If so, what is it?
A hidden talent. No, but I'm an asshole. Is that a hidden talent?
All right, so we asked you in this podcast what you do for a living. You said an electrician. Name me a job that you'd be really, really bad at.
Really bad at. I would probably, in this day and age, with how everything is, the sensitivity it takes to work in an office building, an office setting, I know I could do it, but at the end of the day, I'd end up flipping out and saying the wrong thing to the wrong employee.
All right. And this is the last one here. Give me your celebrity crush.
My celebrity crush. Now this is actually the toughest one of all because there's so many beautiful actresses out there. I don't want to say, well, the one growing up because it's Britney Spears. I think everybody had a crush on Britney Spears when she first burst onto the scene. Not Britney Spears now. I'll go. It's not really a celebrity crush, but I'll just say Scarlett Johansson.
Okay, yeah, that's a big one. Scarlett Johansson's up there for me. I'm also, I know she's got her issues, but man, Demi Lovato, I just think she is gorgeous. She's probably my number one right now. I have a top 5 that I'll kind of rotate 1 to 5 from time to time, but you know.
Oh, no, here's an odd one. Emily Clark from Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, but she's got to have that Khaleesi wig on. Without that wig, she's not
No,
as attractive in my opinion.
no, you're right, but I've like come across some of her videos. She just seems like a fun-loving human being.
Oh
It's like
yeah,
somebody that I wouldn't. I think I'd enjoy spending the day with. Put it that way.
absolutely. Jennifer Lawrence is another one. She seems like just a chill person that would be fun to sit down with. That chick from the Hunger Games.
Yep.
But yeah, appreciate your time. I'll go ahead and give you the floor for a minute here. Say anything to your fans who might be watching you on this podcast for the first time in months. Just share your final thoughts, and we'll go ahead and close this out here in just a moment.
My final thoughts are: this has been a blast working with you. Thanks for inviting me on, man. And I've enjoyed the conversations, and we even had a conversation off screen. I do appreciate it, guys. I do want to say this: I'm the same guy on camera that I am off. Maybe a little bit more bombastic, but I enjoy doing it. Maybe I come back to YouTube again, but right now it is not in the cards.
Right.
So I do appreciate everybody support me. Hell, if you're still subscribed to my channel, I appreciate it. Still over 1,000.
All right, look, OGR, it's been really good time. I had a great time doing the interview. I always have fun doing these interviews. I tell my guests every time at the end of the episode, I've been really lucky to have great content creators come on here and help me stand up this channel. I haven't had a bad experience yet, and I have to be really thankful for that because I'm sure at some point as this podcast continues, as it grows, there's going to be an interview where maybe it's a little bit harder to have a conversation for an hour, or maybe maybe the person makes it a little bit harder, and I have to be really thankful for the people I've had, and especially to you, OGR, who's not even a content creator anymore, but I know a lot of people on YouTube and the Giants community just watching NFL content, they know who you are, and because it's been a while, before the draft, I wanted to pull you on here, get to know you a little bit better, and some opinions based on where OGR sits now on his couch. Thinking about this New York, all right, in the chair, but thinking about the New York Giants and what his thoughts were from this offseason and the next season moving forward. Like I said, guys, if you're still here, I appreciate you watching this whole episode. If you go into the description, there's going to be a link for my merchandise that just dropped last episode. It will be having a little bit of a reform here soon. I think we're going to work on some image changing because some of the products didn't come out perfect. But in the next week or so, that should be finished. Again, OGR, thanks for joining me. It's been a blast. Thanks, everybody, for watching. If you liked it, hit that like, comment, and go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you really enjoyed it and see further episodes. If you got any content creators you want to see on here, drop their names down below, and I'll do my best to have them on. But until next time, everybody, peace.